Hey guys, Brad Gilmore here. Want to give a big shout out to our title sponsor, Walker Texas Lawyer. If you or a loved one have been injured in an accident, whether that be a car, truck, motorcycle accident, or some kind of other issue, hit up Walker Texas Lawyer at 713-552-1117 or walkertexaslawyer.com.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now?
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Matthew McConaughey.
Brad Gilmore.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Jessica Alba and Lizzie Mathis. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Kevin Costner joins us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Chris Tucker is in the building. Chris Tucker, good morning to you.
Hey, Brad. Good morning to you. How are you?
George Lopez joins us right now. George, how are you doing, sir?
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson, joins us right now. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning, Brad. What looking at you, give me funny, lad.
Megan Trainor.
Thank you so much, Brad. You're awesome.
Chloe Bailey joins us. I appreciate the time.
Appreciate you.
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat.
He's joining me right now. This man's about to go on tour. He's about to drop an album again. He's got singles out right now that are burning all the streaming charts up. He's one of my favorites of all time, man. Shwayze joins us right now. Shwayze, how you doing, brother?
Oh, amazing. That was a great intro, Brad. Thank you very much.
Look, man, I'm feeding off your energy. You know, you have good energy, good vibes always. That's kind of a hallmark of your sound and what your brand is represented, right? I mean, you've kind of been an eternal optimist, right? Wouldn't you say?
Hey, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I try to keep a positive outlook. And, you know, I mean, there's so much stuff going on out there, and there's so many ways to consume music. So I figure when you come to hear a Shwayze song, I want you to feel good. You know, that's why I want you to leave feeling good.
Well, man, that's what always happens. And now you got the new album coming out, Shwaycation. This is coming out next week. Talk to me a little bit about it, because it's been about a 2-year gap between this project and the last one.
Yeah.
What made you say this was the right time for Shwaycation?
You know, for me, it's always a challenge figuring out how soon to put out music, you know, because a part of me wants you to digest the last album. But at the same time, I think this day and age, I think it's important to keep it going. So I just finished a long tour, and I was meeting all my fans across the country, and it was just time. I was like, you know, I got to give you guys something else. So so Shwaycation was birthed, man. And I'm really proud of this album. I was like, it continues that feel good vibe that people have known me for, with a little evolution. It has a little bit of Cali reggae vibes, but I'm mixing it up. I got some hip hop, I got some rock, you know, I'm trying to blend it all together.
Well, it's kind of always been your thing, right? I mean, even from the first record all the way to this one, is you've always kind of genre blended, which is weird, because I feel like I've heard you before when people interview you, they always try to figure out how to characterize you, right? Like, he's a rapper, or he does some rock, or it's a reggae album, but
Absolutely.
you've never fit into any of that, like from Buzzin to Shwaycation.
Right. I mean, you hit it right on the nose. I always find it very interesting when people ask me, like, what genre are you? And I know it's like, you know, I should fit into one, but, you know, I grew up by the beach, and I grew up, you know, listening to bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers, but then I've also grew up listening to like Outkast, and, you know, having just like that span of music, it just inspired me to make all types of things, you know? So I think when I first started, you know, just writing to acoustic guitars was like my huge inspiration, like on the beach, writing to guitars, hanging out with my friends. That's how I started writing music. And as I've evolved, I've tried to evolve as an artist and try to touch different vibes, you know, but I think the underlying just feel good is kind of, I wish that was a genre. I just feel good. It could be reggae, it could be rock, it could be anything, country, but as long as it feels good in the soul, that's kind of what I'm trying to create.
But don't you feel like we're moving to somewhat of a genreless day in music of, even if you think about guys like Jelly Roll or Post
Totally.
Malone just put out a country record, and he has,
Right.
I mean, everyone kind of just bends to what they're feeling, the vibe at the time. It's not so much like, oh, we need another rap record from Jelly Roll. It's like, that's not what he's feeling at the time. So like,
Right.
why does he need to do another rap record? Let him do, his country vibe.
I really think it's beautiful that listeners are letting artists do their thing like that, because I remember after I made my first album, it was almost like we only want to hear this over and over again. And it took a while of me putting out music consistently for my fans to finally be like, you know what? I mess with Shwayze. Like, even if I still look like the old stuff, I respect him as an artist and I appreciate the journey. And I think that's what it is. Like, just artists are all constantly going on journeys and trying to evolve, So as long as the listeners are open and down for us to do these little tangents, and, sometimes some of the tangents are weird, but it's a moment in time,
Well, you got to go with what you're feeling, right? You can't force creativity. You got to just feel whatever the energy, wherever it's leading you, right? I mean, it could lead you to country, like you said, which would be interesting. What I mean? I'd be down to hear that.
I would love, like, I actually recorded a Shwaycation in Nashville. So I was immersed in the country scene. I loved it. Yeah, I actually have on my last album a kind of country leaning song with my friend Claire Wright called Slice of Sunshine. So look, you might have a Shwayze album, country album coming out. You never know.
Like when your name comes up and you talk about the vibe and the songs that people would like to hear you do, or the people they'd like to hear you work with. Wiz has been a consistent, like, when are we getting the Wiz and Shwayze record?
Right.
And now you have it, Smoke Too Soon. Here's my question about it. Two things. One, getting Wiz on this one. Like, why was this the one that you thought, okay, we can bring this together? And two, Wiz goes first, you go second. But did you record first, or did you record after you heard what he laid down?
That's a really good question. That's a very, very good question. First of all, you're absolutely right. Fans have been asking about the Wiz Shwayze collab forever, and it just felt really good. I don't know. Being an independent artist, you're always looking for cool wins like that. You know what I mean? And getting a good, and like, I haven't really reached out to a lot of my friends for features. I was thinking about it and I was like, Wiz would be great for this album. It would just like give me that that I needed. It also would make my fans really happy. So I just reached out and he showed mad love. Wiz was very responsive. And to answer your question, I recorded mine first.
Okay.
I had two verses actually. Like, I had a whole thing, and then I just erased my first verse, and I was like, you know what? Let's let Wiz rock. And I think it's really cool because since I'm singing the hook, having Wiz start, it just made sense. Just like for his fans, like, it feels like a Wiz song, and then I'm on the hook, and then I come through later. So I don't know. I was just trying to make it fun.
No, it was cool, man. And those are always the questions, like, as a hip hop head, that I'm interested in knowing. Like, I remember I had Shaq on one time, and I'm like, hey, you and Biggie, who laid the verse first? Like, I had to know. And Shaq was like, I did, man. I wasn't scared of him. And I'm like, yeah, right. Like, love to Shaq always, right? But
Wait a minute. Wait. Why am I just finding out that Shaq and Biggie had a song?
You don't know that? Can't Stop the Rain is the name of the record.
Shaquille O'Neal and Biggie Smalls had a song?
Yes.
What?
And Big goes off on Shaq does his thing. You know what I mean? Shaq does his thing, but it's like Biggie Smalls, like prime.
Wow.
This is like 96, maybe. You got to check it out, man. You got to.
I will. Can't Stop the Rain. I'm gonna try that as soon as we get off. I'm bumping that. That's great.
Okay, sweet, man. Do you ever think, like, when you came out in 08, like, you had kind of this, at least from my perspective, it might have been different from yours, but when you came out in 08, you almost had this super push. It felt like commercially, right? With Buzzin and Corona and Lime, huge records. Yeah. You had the TV show on MTV, which was a reality show. And I felt like you were in that, almost like the last of the Mohicans, like the last artist to launch really before streaming took over the world, where you could still make money on record sales. There were still physical albums in the store. I think I even remember one of the Buzzin episode, you were looking at your physical record in your hand.
Physical CDs, right?
Yeah, like, whoa, this is crazy. And now it's come all the way to stream. But do you think, like, you were kind of that last generation before everything changed?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny looking back on that because there were so many things. Like, do you remember MTV TRL and stuff like that?
Yeah,
like,
Total Request Live.
Like, I think we were the last episode of TRL. Like, we literally last of like a whole situation there. And it is interesting looking back on it and how the industry's changed to fully streaming and TikToks is how you blow up now. But I think it's kind of a beautiful thing, and it's kind of in a way, because back then, like, you had to get a record deal. You had to get a record deal to get yourself popping off. I mean, it was starting to move out, but now it's like you can pop off by yourself with reels and just consistency. So there is a change, and I know a lot of people are like, feeling weird about the change. People in my generation, but I'm just trying to be as malleable as possible and just go with the flow. And I'm trying to like get better at posting on social media constantly. And I'm just trying to stay up with the times. But the good thing about it is, and I feel really grateful, is that the music feels timeless. Because even those songs that when I go do a show right now and I play those old songs, it's like they just came out, and it just blows my mind.
But it's also nice to know kind of what it was before and learning that side of the industry. I feel like that kind of gives you the tools to go into this new generation. Because like, no, man, I went through the hard knocks. I went through the tours and the media runs and doing all this kind of stuff early on.
Exactly.
And it's persisted, man. Why do you think you've persisted when so many from that same era you don't hear from anymore? Respectfully, but you don't hear from a lot of guys that came out in 07, 08, 09. But you've persisted.
I was just telling I was talking to someone about this the other day. It's interesting. Like, when I first started, there's people that have blown up and are doing arenas, and there's people that like you never hear from at all. And I'm like right in that middle space. And I honestly love that little middle space that I'm at, because, I can like go, I just took my kid to the amusement park the other day, and I don't really get stopped. I can live my life and still like perform. I need to stop doing things like this because people are gonna start recognizing me. But like, I just think that I'm in this beautiful space. And the reason I persisted is I truly, with all my heart, love creating. I love entertaining, and I love making music. I love to act. So these are just loves of mine, and honestly, I don't think that I could do anything else. Like, I remember right before Buzzin came out, I was going to real estate school because I was like, all right, well, like, I have a good personality. If I can figure this out, maybe I can flip some houses. Like, I was trying to figure out what my other things would be. And I just keep on falling into entertainment. So as long as people keep listening and people like you keep giving me interviews and caring, I'm going to keep on going.
So let me just go back real quick to 09 for just a second, because we talked about Wiz, and a counterpart to Wiz in a lot of ways is Snoop, right? You can make those parallels. And you had Snoop on your album back, the Let It Beat album that came out in 09. Living It Up was the name of the record.
Yeah.
Getting the Snoop vocals. Like, we've seen like the DJ Khaled memes of like, oh, the vocals are in, right? Like the Timberlake vocals are here, the Jay-Z vocals. Getting the Snoop vocals, like, especially as a West Coaster, you probably coming up where Doggy Style and The Chronic are still bubbling on, you hear Nothing But a G Thing probably every day on the radio.
Of course.
To get the Snoop vocals on your record, like, can you walk me through getting that?
First of all, and you tapped on something, The Chronic too. I remember when I was a kid, the Chronic 2001 had instrumental CD. So it was only instrumentals. He released it only as instrumental. And literally that helps my rap so much. Like, all I did was write rhymes to that instrumental thing. But on another note, I mean, Snoop, when I heard Snoop, like, it was like a run around the room, like, oh, he's like, what? Like, you know what I mean? Of course, it was like, I think that was at the time, the first big feature I'd ever received, and to hear him on a song with me was absolutely surreal, mind blowing. I still trip about it. Like, my son's 13 now, and he's at the age where he's cool. He kind of thinks his dad's cool, but kind of like, not really. And I'm like, wait, I have a song with Snoop. I'm like trying to show him I'm cool. I'm like, look at this song with Snoop I have. And he's like, okay, that's pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? So I'm getting cool points from some of my old stuff, which is mind blowing.
And what's great too about the Snoop record you got is Snoop, he didn't mail it in, man. Like, he didn't just kind of come with a just Snoop verse. Like, he rapped on it.
He rapped on that thing, bro. No, he killed it. He killed that. No, and that was another situation where I already had my verse written, but I was like, damn, should I rewrite myself? I mean, Snoop's the legend, man. Snoop's the best.
He's the best, man.
It's funny story is like a couple of years later, I was like driving the airport and I saw like people crowding someone. It was Snoop. So I told my driver, I was like, wait, stop up. I hopped out the car. I'm like, Snoop, what up, it's Shwayze. He was like, he had no idea who I was.
Well, look, when you talk about how you're like in a good level of famous,
Exactly.
he's in that level to where he meets 1,000 people a day and
Yeah.
has done 1,000 records.
1,000 records. Exactly. No, but that was amazing. I was like, stupid. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Continue on. People are mad at me, like trying to take pictures. I'm like, I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna keep it moving. You know what I mean? That's awesome, man. Now, the tour life, right? You're about to go on tour. You can get the dates at shwayze.com/tour. You're kicking off here. You're not gonna be in the Texas area in the next couple months, but we hope you come to Houston. I've seen you here in Houston a few times. Would love for you to come by here. But talk to me about the tour grind, because I feel like you're almost an athlete in that way, right? Like of having to find not only your rhythm and your process on the road, but recovery, where you're going to eat. You leave the tour, there's only so many things open after the show, and like staying fit and healthy and trying to get all that in. Like, have you mastered this at all over the years?
It's a work in progress. I wouldn't say master, but I learn every single time. And you're right. Like I did those tours early on, and you want to like drink and party every night. And, sometimes a drink before the thing will help you loosen up. But you multiply that by 30 shows in a month period, your body's going through a lot, So yeah, now I try to cook as much as possible on tour. And I try not to eat at all in any kind of gas stations and things like that. Just try to keep the food, because just that change, like eating well, like makes your body and your mood so much better. And as far as the drinking, I try to space it out a little bit. Not every night, every other night maybe, or maybe just one shot or something, a little Casamigos Reposado before stage. But I try to keep it mellow. And it's like I said, it's a work in progress.
So when you're recording these records, I heard you talk about the Lil Wayne documentary that came out years ago. I think it was the Carter documentary.
Yeah.
And I remember the opening of that doc. He's recording Swagger Like Us verse, and like in a hotel room or something.
Yes.
And you said that helped, kind of made you switch your writing style, at least for a little while, where you're doing it more in your head, like the Jay-Z, Lil Wayne approach, as opposed to pen and paper or typing it in notes.
Right.
Did you find that process made it easier to kind of get exactly what you wanted to say in the verse down without having any, like when you write something down, you might put an extra word or syllable in there that doesn't fit exactly right. But when you're there and effortlessly, and it's in your mind already, and you've written to this beat over and over in your head, did you find that it flowed better, or was it a bit difficult challenge?
No, absolutely. I think that's what, like when you get off the paper a little bit, at least for me, it does help with the flow, because like you can do something that you might not have thought of on the paper. Like you might throw a melody in there, like, ooh, that's kind of cool. That's why you keep the recorder on too, like the little phone recorder, just in case, But I can't. I'm not claiming to be anywhere as dope as Wayne or Jay in that kind of process, but that process just inspired me as a writer, because as a writer, I think you're always kind of looking for things to inspire you. Like, yes, you can walk around in the daytime and find things like that, but there could be techniques that inspire you, or like anything could inspire something, So just that concept of keeping in your head was inspiring to me. So yeah, I did like a little EP like that. And then now I do like a hybrid of it. Like I'm thinking in the head, but then I might write something down. But now with the recording, I like to like punch and just, just sit there, and I can just punch myself and think about a line and then punch myself. And I think that's really fun. If I'm recording by myself, that's how I do it. If I have an engineer there, I kind of don't want them to sit through that grueling process of me like trying to figure things out. So I kind of force myself to write and do different things. But yeah, everything inspires different kind of stuff, man. I think there's a million different songwriting techniques, and I literally use as many as I know all the time, because that's what just keeps it going.
They say there's no wrong way to do something as long as you do it right. You know what I mean? Like, as long as you find it what you're right. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. You're right. Your workflow, whatever works for you.
Now, going from writing your own lines and your own songs and your own lyrics, and having to memorize lines for a television show or a movie and act in a scene, like, did you find it difficult having words come out of your mouth and emote and trying to emote on them that aren't yours or aren't for a record?
That's a great question. That's really cool. No, Actually, I love that. I love that a bit of escapism and a bit of just like imagination and creativity in that space. And it's kind of like a relief that I didn't write the words. I think I can even go a little deeper and kind of escape a little bit more. And no, man, yeah, the acting journey is funny because I've always wanted to be an actor before music, before anything. Like acting was like what I thought. I thought I was gonna be like, an actor. And who knows? I'm still working on it. Hey, I'm still working.
I mean, you've been in big shows, man. Abbott
Yeah.
Elementary, Lincoln. These are huge shows.
Oh no, man! I'm super blessed, man. I'm super stoked. I auditioned for these shows, just like anyone would. Like these were not offers or anything. I wasn't getting any special love because I'm Shwayze or anything like that. So it was really humbling and also just really inspiring to like book these shows, And I was like, all right, I want to do more because like the creativity on set is just so fun. I mean, there's hundreds of people literally all working together on this task to make this thing, and I just love being about a part of that creative process. And it just kind of brings that same excitement that I had when I first started making music. It brings me that, like, when I'm like getting a script, or I did an audition yesterday and I was like stoked for it, So I don't know. Hopefully you see me more on the screen.
Because it's stretching a different muscle, right? I mean, that's probably why it's giving you that same excitement. Because like when you're first recording records, you're trying to figure out how to make a record. It's not just as simple as hitting record. It's song structure and verse and a bridge. And how am I going to come out of that? And man, I went really hard in verse 1. What am I going to do for verse 2? Because I don't think I can top that, And then finding your rhythm in acting. That's really cool, man. Okay, last question for you. You've been very appreciative. I'm very appreciative with your time.
Oh, man.
There's certain people I feel like you mentioned some of your early influences like Red Hot Chili Peppers. We talked about Snoop and the Chronic 2001 album from Dre and the instrumentals. Sometimes though, there are rappers that are so good or they have a verse that's so good, it makes you question your decision to be a rapper, I'm sure. Who are those guys who make you question yourself sometimes and like, wow, this guy's so elite, whether it be Jay or Wayne or whomever, right? I think everyone hears that record and go, how did he think of that double entendre? Or don't even ask him how, but
bro, like honestly, both those guys you mentioned, Jay and Wayne for sure. I most recently felt that way during the Kendrick and Drake battle. Because I was just imagining myself there. I'm like, what am I doing? Am I really sitting there trying to battle someone and like come up with this shit and like digging deep? Like I will just be done. Like one battle towards me, I'm just like, I give up. Like during that time, I was just like, wow, like these guys are incredible. Or even Eminem on the new Wet record, when I'm hearing like how he's rapping and like him and Jid, I think the other rapper is. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's like math rock, like it's to us, like how they're able to like just throw. My brain can't think like that, So, J. Cole, all the good rappers, I pretty much am like, I don't know how you guys do that because I rap, but I'm just more of a vibe. I'm just vibing on the track. I've never considered myself like, a crazy rapper. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can spit some bars. Don't get me wrong.
Damn, man. Spoke too soon. You went off.
Oh no, I appreciate you, man. But yeah, all those guys. Lil Wayne, of course. Real G's moving silence like lasagna. Like who's
figure that out? Yeah.
And Kanye. Kanye has had so many amazing lines, and Kanye was a huge inspiration on me, and just like how his clever lines and
when he said sophisticated ignorance, I write my curses in cursive. I was like, I get it custom. You're a customer. You ain't accustomed to going through customs. I said, this man's going.
He's so good. And he's never stopped like pushing the boundaries on his creativity with those kind of lines. So I always appreciate him as well.
Well, hey, man, we're excited for the new album. We're excited for the tour. Congrats on Shwaycation. It's out next Friday. The tour, you start in October, going through end of the year pretty much, right, on the tour.
Yeah, end of the year, we're going to East Coast and in Canada. Shwayze.com/tour. Go get your tickets right now. We'll be everywhere. We're coming to Texas soon, so keep an eye on that.
Hey, man, I really appreciate the conversation, brother. It was a pleasure.
Incredible interview. Thank you so much. It's cool to talk to someone who actually knows what's going on, and the albums you've obviously did your research. So I appreciate you, bro.